Okay. Hello. Hello, everyone. Good evening. I hope everyone is doing well tonight. Day four. Day four of 30 of the Boss Up Challenge. Hey, Derek. How are you? Hi, Karina. Hello there. So, this evening, we're going to be talking about how to develop a business plan. And I'll give a little bit of time for people to come on. While we're waiting, I want to remind everyone to hold on just a second. Make sure I put this on Do Not Disturb. That way it doesn't interrupt recording. Okay. All right, there we go. Okay. So I wanted to remind everyone to please like the video and subscribe to my YouTube channel, which is called Business Builder Basics. And there's also a Facebook group with the same name that you can join. I encourage you to join. We are doing the 30-day Boss Up Challenge, which is where you commit to the challenge and you tune in every evening at 9 p.m. You give me 20 minutes of your time. I give you information about how to start a business, how to develop a business mindset, how to be successful, give, in certain areas, or at least try to advise people on my opinion about what worked for me, what didn't work for me based on my experience. And I also like to do acknowledgments. So I'll be doing acknowledgments at the beginning instead of the end like I used to. And so for today, I would like to acknowledge Orisha Brown and Nancy Griffin for Compliment Jewelry. And I'm not sure how many people pay attention or care, but mostly every single thing that I wear in these videos is made by Compliment Jewelry. So they do very quality, custom made jewelry. They use the finest products. So I'd like to shout them out. And I'm going to go ahead and get started. Let's see, it's 3:20. I'm going to go for 20 minutes talking about the business plan. Because the business plan is such an involved thing, I'm definitely going to do this in two parts. So we'll go through as much as we can get through today, and then I'll stop at 20 minutes and allow for the usual Q&A. All righty. So what I did was, and this was pretty interesting, it's like a blast from the past because I actually had to pull up my old business plan from when I started my company. And I was 25 years old, and my original business plan was about 32 pages. So I have it here. You all can't see because it's probably the mirror version, but there you go. So what you can do, you can, how there's templates and things like that you can find online. That's what I did when I was 25. I just looked at the different sections and I Googled each section to see like what was supposed to go in each of those sections. And I really just thought it out. So before I get into the meat and potatoes of the business plan itself, I want to make sure I address why a business plan is important for most businesses if you have a certain goal. Now, if your goal is to get other people engaged in your business, if you're looking to create that synergistic collaboration we talked about the other day, where you're trying to attract potential partners and people that could come together with you and go in business, if you want investors, like basically, if you want someone to take you seriously, you want to be able to present them a business plan because it shows that you've taken the time to think things through, organize your thoughts, and take the time to put them in writing to present to someone. Now, of course, a 32-page business plan, everybody is not interested in that. And so you also can have what's called an abbreviated business plan. And that's if you want to give someone a brief overview, basically, of what your plan is without all of the details that would come in a comprehensive business plan. You really want people to know that, I know how I feel now, that I've been in business and I understand what it takes. And I know that a lot of people claim they want to be in business and they'll do a lot of talking and they want to take up your time and talk to you about their ideas and say what they're going to do, but they don't ever do anything. So it makes people who are serious about business or who've been doing business, it makes them reluctant to spend their time talking to people. Now, if somebody wants to email me a business plan or they approach me with a business plan and hand it to me, I'm more inclined to believe that that person has at least put some time and thought into what they're trying to do. And so the business plan will really help people take you seriously. The people that matter, really. Now, if you're not really looking for investors or for anyone, a formal business plan really isn't necessary, but you definitely need a plan. You need a plan, and it doesn't have to be written out, but I think it should be. It doesn't have to be in like a real formal format, but you kind of need something to definitely help you to stay on track with what you're trying to do. It's easy to get off track. It's easy to get confused. So it just helps you to keep your eye on what it is that you're trying to do, basically, and stay focused. So the components of a business plan, of course, every template isn't the same. You have to consider like which one works best for you, your type of business, the purpose that you're using it for. But the first page that I had was a table of contents, basically. A table of contents. And that just gives the reader just at a glimpse of what they're about to look into. If there are certain things that they want to look at, they know they can go right to it and you have the corresponding page number. This is a really good way, especially when you have like a 35-page, 50-page, 100-page document. You want people to be able to get to the part they really want to see or easily navigate your plan. So in this business plan, I have an executive summary, a general company description, products and services, a marketing plan, an operational plan, management and organization, personal financial statement, startup expenses and capitalization, a financial plan, then I have appendices, basically. So those are some typical components of a comprehensive, thorough business plan. An executive summary. Basically, I see that they've recommended writing it last, actually, when, after you've really summarized all of your thoughts. This is telling people in like 2 pages or less everything that you're going to be doing in a concise way, like an overview, basically. You would want to be able to, if someone wanted to do an interview with you or gave you the stage, basically, to tell them about your plan, you will cover it in about 5 minutes. That's what your executive summary should be able to do. You want to explain the fundamentals of your proposed business. What will your product be? Who will your customers be? Who are the owners? What do you think the future holds for your business and your industry? It's very critical. Make it enthusiastic, professional, complete, and concise. Being concise is something that I had to learn. Less is more sometimes. You don't want to overwhelm people in the executive summary. You want to, like I said, be enthusiastic. When you're presenting something, you want to make sure that a degree of your passion comes through for the project. If you don't have real passion for the project, you can fake it till you make it. Just make sure that you feel confident about your plan. Basically, you need to be able to sell this to someone and convince them as to why they should partner with you, why they should give you their money, or let you do whatever it is you're trying to do. Okay, if you're applying for a loan, a lot of times they want to see this business plan. So you want to state clearly in your plan like how much you want. This is in the executive summary part. You make that part clear, and precisely how you're going to use the money and how the money will make your business more profitable, basically. All of that is in your executive summary. And to be concise is an art, because you have to figure out how to say the most with the least amount of words. Next section is the general company description. Okay, this is self-explanatory. You're basically going to talk about the name of your company. Of course, you would have selected a name by this time. You're going to talk about the structure of the entity, if it's a corporation, if it's an LLC, sole proprietorship, if it's nonprofit, for profit. This is where you would start to get into the nuts and bolts of that. And you talk about, like in my business plan, I actually had plans to do multiple businesses. And so I had all of the names lined up under it, and just said a little bit about it. And so in this general company description, another thing that's really important and powerful is your mission statement. Your mission statement is usually just a sentence, maybe 2 sentences, no more than 3, where you really use some powerful language about what it is you're trying to accomplish. Like I said, there should be some type of passion or enthusiasm for what it is you're trying to do and why it's important that you do what you're doing. If you're doing something from a humanistic standpoint, it's really easy to talk about that. If it's really just something that's just about making money, you still can say what your mission is. If your mission is about giving a quality product and making sure your high-end customers have satisfaction, I mean, that can be your mission statement. It really doesn't have to be, something that is like charity work or anything like that. And so, like, for instance, my mission statement was Progeny Enterprises Incorporated strives to offer quality, affordable health, human, and social services to the community in an unprecedented manner. We strengthen communities and prosper collectively. That has been my mission from day one, and that mission has not changed. It has expanded a bit, and I figured out there are different ways to accomplish the mission, but the mission statement has not changed. All right. And so you also want to put the company goals and objectives in the general company description. What are you trying to achieve? Not just your mission. Your mission statement is more of like a real clever way of saying what you're trying to say. But your company goals and objectives, that's when you actually get more lengthy about what it is you're trying to accomplish specifically. Your business philosophy, separate than the mission statement. That's a little different. Your business philosophy is basically like what you're almost communicating, like what your mindset is towards business, how you intend to approach things, like the viewpoint you come from. You want people to understand what you stand for, what your business stands for. And you definitely want to make sure you stand for something. Figure it out. This is where you get creative. It's best and easiest when you're authentic. Okay, so your business philosophy is important, especially if you're trying to get money for from someone who likes to give their money to companies that have a certain philosophy, basically. So an example of a business philosophy, I'll go over mine. And Progeny Enterprises Incorporated, I'm just from now on going to say PEI. That's how I refer to the company. PEI will be recognized as a unique company that will not subscribe to the mores of corporate America in the 21st century. PEI values experience, endurance, education, knowledge, wisdom, compassion, commitment, resiliency, order, and balance. PEI believes it is the culmination of these factors that promotes prosperity. More importantly, PEI is concerned with the human element in extending opportunities to the community in order to prosper collectively. So it's really powerful. I look back and I know that this was authentic, and this because I still feel this way to this day. That has not changed. That's part of what this channel is about. This show is about bossing up, trying to help people understand things that you can do so that we collectively can prosper. Because when you do well, then we all do better. You know, if we do it a certain way. It can't just be, I'm doing well, let me keep mine over here. Let me not share the secrets to success because only I want them. No, that's never the approach that I've taken. And going back and looking at my business philosophy at the age of 25, I must pat myself on the back because I still, even now at the age of 39, I still feel just like this, and I don't want to lose sight of it. So that's how your business philosophy should be. It should really speak to who you are and what you want your business to stand for. So another section of this general company description is describing your target market. Remember, every business is not trying to appeal to every customer. You know, you have a target market that you're looking at. So, for instance, if you're just a child care center, then your target market would be people with children that have jobs, that need child care, basically. And you would consider, so that means your target market wouldn't be 3-year-olds. Whereas if you were a toy manufacturer, your target market would be the 3-year-olds, the 4-year-olds, and a degree of the adults, because they're the ones that are going to have the power to purchase. So you must think about your target market, because once you know your target market, you have to study that market. You have to learn their buying trends. You basically need to study it so that you know how to appeal to the target market, because what works for one doesn't work for everything else. So for instance, an example of 2 companies that provide the same general services, but they aim for a different market. You have, like, for instance, Planet Fitness. They may offer a gym membership for maybe like $9.99 a month. And they're doing that because they want to attract as many people as possible, you know, and they want all of those customers that'll come and pay that $9.99 and feel like they're getting a really good deal. On the other hand, you have places like LA Fitness, or even like the UFC gym, where like the UFC gym is $99 a month, not $9.99. And they're not looking for the people that would complain about paying $99. You have to know your market, basically. So your target market must be discussed in this general company description. You want to talk about your company's strengths, basically. Now, if your company is new and it's just in your mind, you've only hypothesized about what this company will do, you can still talk about strengths as far as how you foresee what your company's strengths will be. You can talk about those things, because if you can recognize why your company is going to be strong, then you can acknowledge those things, highlight those things, and try to convince others that your company is strong in those areas. If you can't articulate those things, how will anybody else necessarily know? So it's very important to talk about your company's strengths, basically. And so, for instance, I had not really started doing business when I did my business plan. So I had to anticipate or project, I guess, what I wanted my strengths to be for the company. And an example would be PEI's most important strengths are experience, endurance, education, knowledge, wisdom, compassion, commitment, resilience, order, and balance. Okay, let's see. PEI is unique in that it is developed with people in mind, not just profit. We believe that these motivations will give us the competitive edge. So one of the things that we did with all of the programs, we offered low-income programs. I called it the HATS program, and that stood for Helping Another to Survive, HATS. And all that was just a name I created. And if anybody came to our company and could not afford our regular services, our regular price for our services, we would reduce our prices to a point that hopefully it would be reasonable for that person to afford. It got to a point where I became a little more organized with it. I had like an application process. You would need to like show your proof of income or your tax return so that I could make sure that you weren't just saying you needed help, but that you actually needed help. And so that was a thing I thought was going to be a strength, because I know when people are in business, if you're a for-profit, you do want to make money. Otherwise, you would be a nonprofit. But I wanted to be a for-profit and have the freedom and flexibility of a for-profit, but still like not necessarily maximize or cap at not try to maximize the net profit. If I wanted to maximize that, then I could be like LA Fitness, and my price is my price. If you can't afford it, you're not my customer. You're not the market. You're not my target market. So I felt like that was something that was going to be a strength, and I highlighted that in the business plan. You also want to go over core competencies. Basically, what is it about the people that you're working with in your company, or just yourself? What is it about you why do you deserve, the right to do this? Why should I give my money to you to start a business? Do you know what you're doing? Are you qualified? Like what is it that you have that I should believe you can pull this off? So you want to show that you're competent, and the people that you maybe have elected as your board of directors or your other executives or people that you have in place, you want to highlight what areas you're competent, basically. So one thing I put that we had our executive and progeny had over 20 years of combined experience in childcare, private and public school, educational systems development, youth programs, and assisted living. And when I say have over 20 years of combined experience, it makes it sound good, right? I mean, I had just started in business, so it's like, how can you say you have over 20 years of combined experience? All I did was I took each person who was on my team, I looked at their background, I looked at how long, if they had a degree, they did a 4-year degree in education, or like my sister had her master's in instructional systems development. So there you go, 6 years of education, that's experience. Then she was a teacher in the public schools for a couple of years. So throw that in there. Then I take my dad, who at that time may have had maybe 10 years of experience in childcare. Then I took my mom, who may have had at that point maybe 6 years. So what I'm trying to say is I took the years of experience of everybody involved and I added them up. And that is actually combined. That's why I say 20 years of combined experience. And it makes it sound better because you're not lying, but you're also not talking about chronologically 20 years, like, on a timeline. Now you're 20 years later, that type of experience. It's just everybody's combined experience. No matter when they had the experience, it's their level of expertise and their experience that you're going to basically sum up. And that can help you to sound strong and good and be honest actually when you're saying it. So another thing that can go in the general company description, this section would be biographies of your key people. Generally, like if you're a corporation and if you're going with like CEO title versus president, if you're doing like CEO, Chief Executive Officer, Chief Operating Officer, Chief Financial Officer, if you're going to use those titles, you're called officers. So that's what I went with. And basically a biography, most of you know what that is. It kind of just tells a story. It's a narrative of who you are relative to the business. It's not going to get into things that are not relevant, but it tells a story about who you are in a way that reads like a paragraph, basically. So you want to make sure that you do a good job of saying that so that people know how awesome you are, basically, and how awesome the people you work with are. I actually had 3 people listed in my original business plan. It was me as the CEO, my sister as the CFO, and another girl who I started with, and I haven't seen her since maybe the first few months that we started up. When the going got tough, she got going. And so it's funny seeing her name on here. Actually, the people who you start with are not necessarily the people who you finish with. And so anyway, that is all a part of the company description. Let me go over these subheadings again just to make sure you all are following. So you're going to have one big part is your executive summary. Boom, that's that. Now another big part is your general company description. Boom, that's the part. Within your general company description, you're going to go over your mission statement, company goals and objectives, your business philosophy, your target market, your company strengths, core competencies, and biographies. Okay. So those are 2 sections that what I would like for your goal tonight. I usually don't specify the goals. I usually let people make their own goals. But what I'm going to suggest tonight, just to make sure, because I want to make sure I am providing you with some structure. So what I would like for you to do, your goal for the next 24 hours is to come up with those areas of your business plan. Does not have to be written out like in sentence format or like perfect grammar or anything, but at least write down the headings or type out the headings and put little phrases or words or thoughts under each heading. Give it some thought, like who would these people be if you're working with anyone? What would your mission statement be like? If you don't want to take all the time to come up with the fancy wording, at least just throw some words in there that you want your mission statement to emphasize. So it's going to be like a really watered down outline, basically, of your business plan. And so don't worry about the executive summary part. Because they suggest that really you do that part after you do all of the other parts of the business plan. And we'll get into that more on part 2 tomorrow. So I just really want you to go over that general company description. So in order to do that, that means that you would have to settle on what it is you're actually going to be doing. And even if you're not sure, you still need to sometimes trying to do a business plan for an idea you have that you're not sure about can help you determine if you want to do that or not. After you've done what you needed to do to put the business plan together, you would actually have a better idea if you even want to do that. So it's not really a waste of time to use it on a business that you're not even sure you're going to do. But I assure you that it will help you to be more certain about what you want to do, what you don't want to do. So please, that is the goal that I want you all to set for yourselves. And if you have other goals that you were going to set, you can do that too. You can have more than one goal, but I'm going to keep it simple and say we need at least one goal per day that we're working on. Okay, so my 20 minutes is up. That's the information part of this broadcast. Now I'm going to open it up for Q&A to see if anyone has any questions about what we've gone over so far with the business plan, or any questions from any previous video, or just general business questions or advice that you would like. One thing I've noticed is I know that it seemed like a lot more viewers were tuning in as it became around like 9:30. And I think the first time that I went live, I think I did it at 9:30. And I'm not sure if 9:30 was too late for people. So then I pushed it up to 9 o'clock. And I think I'll keep it there, but I do want to make sure that I hang out for a little while, because sometimes there are people that will come in and it really will start flowing at around 9:30 as far as people asking questions and participating. So I will wait and see if anyone has any questions. Let's see, one comment. Well, that was Derek saying hey. Looks like we have 2 viewers now. Hey, Allison, how are you? How do you determine whether you'll be a sole proprietor, LLC, etc.? Okay, so it depends on what kind of business you get in. If you get into, so basically those, the LLC, the corporation, those, amongst other things, those things basically increase in their degree of protection they offer you. They protect you from liability. So for instance, a sole proprietorship is at the bottom. You have nothing distinguishing you from your business. So you, Allison, are your business, basically. And if you're providing, let's say you're a home daycare provider and you get sued because of something that happens, or someone gets sue happy and they sue you, even if you gave your business another name, but you're a sole proprietor, now when they sue you, whatever you have, your spouse, you own homes, assets that you have, now those things are fair game that could be included in a settlement for that person, or what results from the civil suit. Now, an LLC is the next step up. It's a limited liability. So now it basically gives you a little bit more separation. Your business is not you. Your business is separate from you. It's like an extension of you. And so if you get sued, it's easier to try to keep it within the realm of the business and not you. However, it's not guaranteed that it won't end up getting to you and your assets. Corporation is the strongest form of liability protection because it provides what's called a corporate veil. So it's like, so here's my corporation here in front of me. I have a veil that protects me. So if somebody sues the corporation, they can't penetrate the corporate veil. So if they can only get to the assets that the business has. So if the business bought a car, if the business owns the home, fair game. Business bank accounts, fair game. But me personally, homes are in my personal name, the things are in my personal name, not fair game. In some cases, depending on how heinous the situation is, or how the attorney fights or the judge, depending on those things, sometimes the corporate veil can be penetrated, but it provides the most amount of protection for you. So if you know you're doing something that's not really high liability, then sole proprietorship is absolutely fine. But I'm a corporation because I'm in healthcare and childcare and businesses dealing with providing services to people, critical services. And depending on what you choose, whatever structure you choose has different implications for taxes, the kind of reports you file annually, quarterly. It has a lot of other implications. And I'll make sure that I should be able to do a video probably just devoted to talking about business structure. Any more questions? That's a good question, actually. Very good question. So I'm hoping that when people come back and look at the video, that will be pretty helpful for them. Also, a sole proprietorship, if you're just one person, solely me. It's my business is me and only me. A LLC can have members, and you can be one member. You can be the only person in your LLC, but they're called members. And then in a corporation, if it's like a S corporation, you can have shareholders, or so it's basically different. It's a way of how you classify the people who are other partners or owners or members in your business. No problem. Thanks for tuning in. Okay, I'll wait. Trying to think if I can think of anything to talk about while I wait for questions. Not really. I will say this with the business plan, if you're a sole proprietor and you're doing something and you don't really need much from other people, make sure that doing the business plan itself does not consume so much of your time that you can't get to the actual executing of your business plan because you're just too busy trying to create and perfect your business plan. If you're not presenting your business plan to anyone, then really it can just be like chicken scratch and notes that you have to yourself, basically. Don't overdo it. Don't spend so much time in it that especially if like writing isn't your strong point, or your organizational skills, your executive functioning. A business plan is really where your executive functioning skills come in big time. Yeah, I actually, I think it was either yesterday or the day before, I said that we're going to go over how to file your own articles of incorporation, how to do the paperwork to create an LLC, and I will be specifically guiding people through the process for Maryland, which is through the Maryland State Department of Assessments and Taxation. So that's SDAT. There's a website, and now these things can be done online and fairly quickly. So we can go over the instructions for how to do it, because a lot of people pay a lot of money to have someone else do those things, when in fact it's really not difficult. It's not difficult if you don't have any general comprehension issues or reading issues. Okay, so operating without insurance or a lawyer. So liability insurance, depending on in an attorney, depending on the kind of business you're in, is not necessary. If you, so of course, childcare liability insurance is good to have, assisted living, and depending on if you get certain contracts from the government or depending on who you accept funding from, they may even require that you have liability insurance. Your landlord may require that you have liability insurance. So let's say you're doing an Airbnb and one of your guests, uh, I guess, trips in a crack that you have in your sidewalk, a big crack, something that basically constitutes negligence on your part, something that you should have repaired. Now you're liable to be, sued, because they may have a case actually if they were to fall and hurt themselves on your property. So that's where, if you don't own the property, that person who got hurt on that property is technically the owner's liability. So if the owner is leasing to someone, then they may want that person to get liability insurance and have them covered as an additional insured on their policy. So let's say you have, my mother leases a property to me. I use her property to do an Airbnb. She said, that's fine, do that, whatever, but she wants me to have liability insurance. And when I get that coverage, I ask the company to please include her as an additional insured, so that if the person here gets hurt and they try to skip over to the owner for their technical lawsuit, now they're covered because they're an additional insured. And now that policy will go into effect for that. As far as attorneys, so liability insurance is good to have. But if you have a business where you're, like, let's say you're an accountant, unless you are really doing some shady things and you get a person in trouble with the IRS or something, and really that doesn't even count because it'll be linked to you as an accountant, not to the person. So it will be hard for me to think of a way that maybe an accountant could be sued. I mean, I'm sure there's some higher level things that go on and shady things, but let's just say all things are going the way they should. That's not a high liability business, basically. So you wouldn't really need liability insurance. But an attorney, okay, so I went most of the life of my business without an attorney or formal legal advice because I couldn't afford it. And most people can't if they're just getting started and they don't really have a lot of savings or startup capital. Attorneys are important for people that may not be as resourceful, or people that may not be able to explore things on their own. If you're a person who can, like, you do well with teaching yourself certain things, and you can research something and you can study something and develop a general understanding of it enough where you can interpret the situation, Now you've eliminated the need for an attorney somewhat. But the thing is, if you put in the legwork and you figure certain things out for yourself, then if you go consult an attorney, you don't have to have one on retainer. But if you do a consultation, you can say, here's what I found, yada, 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 yada. Does that sound right? You can get legal advice. And if you take up less of their time because you put in the work to get an understanding, they can just kind of tell you if you're on track or not. And that's kind of what I've done in certain situations. Like I've developed all of my own contracts. Yeah, I've never really used an attorney for much. And even when the child care center got suspended, I had to retain an attorney because in some situations when you're a corporation, if something happens and you end up having legal action, you're required to be represented by an attorney. And so I had to get an attorney. But the funny thing is, the attorney was not the one who came up with the ideas about how to quickly get my center reopened. It was me that came up with that. And she just kind of said, yeah, that sounds like a good plan. And I was able to, instead of taking up more of her time, her trying to figure out with me or explain to me, I'm able to go to her and say, I think if I do this and if I contact this person, I say this, I do this, I think they'll let us reopen. So being intelligent and being resourceful can help you save a lot of money. Okay, sorry, I was bathing my kids. Is there a template you recommend to use for the business plan? Well, I actually have not done a business plan. This one was done back in 2005, the beginning of 2006. And I have not actually gone looking for one, but I can actually search and see what they have out there. I don't remember. I know I used a template, but I don't remember which. A lot of times now, a lot of these companies are trying to charge you to use their forms. But if you look thoroughly enough, you can maybe find a PDF of someone else's business plan, and then you can like cut and paste or tweak. And keep in mind, like some business plans will have sections that just don't seem really relevant to what you're doing. So you'll have to know kind of like what to cut out, and you might have to add in something of your own that you think will be important. So yeah, I don't have a specific recommendation. And if I was more tech savvy and I knew more, which I am learning, but it's coming along slowly, trying to learn how to use like Facebook Live and YouTube and some of the features they have, like being able to upload PDFs. There are some things that I wanted to be able to upload to the group that only the group would have access to. So you would, I think you're already in it, but you would have to join the Business Builder Basics group. And eventually I'll get to the point where I'm giving people materials and things they can print, things that are tangible. So when they walk away from this video, they'll, have something that they can work from. But I'm not sure how long it'll take me to start getting that formal. So what else you guys thinking about? I'll go back to what Derek is asking, and I want to make sure that I'm not being misunderstood. I'm not saying that, I'm not trying to advise a person to not seek legal counsel. But what I'm saying is, if you can't afford an attorney, but you definitely want to shoot your shot at the business, then I think it's very important that you do your best to educate yourself on the topic. And if you don't feel confident in your ability to do that, then try to get with someone that you think could. They may not be an attorney, but they may be someone that's good with reading and comprehending things and thinking critically about things. It's, in a perfect world, when you're starting a business, you have this money that you start with, and you're able to get a consultant, you have your mentor, an attorney, an accountant, you know, that's all perfect world scenario type stuff. And the community that I'm from, I don't see any of those scenarios. I see scenarios where you have to get really creative, you have to cut corners, you have to rob Peter to pay Paul, you have to wear five different hats. You're your own accountant, you prepare your own taxes, you do your own bookkeeping, you're your own attorney, you're everything basically, because you can't afford to outsource. And once you start doing those things, even when you start making the money, sometimes it's hard to outsource because you've gotten used to not paying people, because people charge a lot of money. I was doing my own taxes for years, because the first year that I used an accountant to do them, it was like over $1,000 that he charged. And I was like, oh no, 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 we can't afford that. And so I did them ever since. And I just recently started using a professional accountant again to do my taxes, because I'm the kind of person, I like to keep that money in my pocket. This is why, even when you're running a business, if you're struggling, if you wear many hats yourself, that's how I was able to do certain things. That's how I was able to provide discounted services in the community. That's how I was able to um, still like have nice things, even if the business was struggling. Because if I was doing the job of five people, and that's the part people don't see. If I'm doing the job of five people, then yeah, I'm going to have some money for myself. I'm going to, have a nice home. I'm going to have a nice car. That's kind of what you feel like you deserve for working hard, because you save that money basically. You've been using your tax money to fund your business for supplies and equipment. How do I know when to call it quits? Well, I remember I said that we probably should do a video, like knowing when to say when, because it's very difficult. I would say consider calling it quits when you know you have taken every avenue to give it your best shot. You've done everything you can think to do within reason to make your business pop. If you've done all those things and you feel confident you've done all those things and it's still not working, then you have to consider, if your goal is to make money and you're not making money, then you might want to call it quits. If your goal is more than to make money, you might hang in there. That was the case with my child care center. I hung in there for a long time, even though I was having to take money from my other businesses to actually still make sure I was meeting payroll at the daycare, or that the lease was being paid. And I did that for a long time. I would actually, I think the employees, they didn't believe me when I would say it, but I'm like, I'm actually paying to keep this place open, whereas they thought I was getting rich from it. There were times where I had to take money from other places. And after doing that for a while, you know, it was a child care center, so it had more meaning. But if you're doing something that like really doesn't have deeper meaning, or like some kind of greater implication for the future or our society, then you might have to cut it. You know, you cut it eventually. Hey, LaShawn. Hey, Barbara. Hi, Barbara. I always love it when I get a WPO sister that peeks in on me. They're my mentors, actually. The WPO, Women's Presidents Organization. They are a group of outstanding women, basically. Everyone needs a mentor. And by meeting those women, it helped me understand that I still have a very long way to go, that I need to do some things differently. And yeah, hood rich isn't getting it for me. I'm really trying to get to the next level and actually have some true financial freedom. true wealth, basically. So yeah, calling it quits, that's tough. That's tough because you don't really know. You don't really it's only something that you can decide really. But if you're just like, the other thing is, when you're starting out, if you don't feel like you're a business pro yet, then you may have to focus on one business at a time. But with me, I always like to have, my hands in quite a few things, because if something doesn't work out, then maybe something else is. And that's why in my business plan, I actually have proposed to do several businesses at once. Yep. It was going to be one, two, three, four, five, six businesses basically all coming up and being built at the same time, and seeing like, okay, one of these should work, at least one. I shouldn't have done as many. I don't advise. I don't advise like overwhelming yourself like that. But if you can, see if you can have your hand in something else or working on something else. And this is the importance of partners and synergy. Remember synergy, the synergy video, if you haven't seen it. Being able to come together to do better together than what you would have done apart, that's synergy. And when you have other people you're working with, then you have more time, because there's a division. If things are being done correctly, there should be a division of labor and roles and responsibilities in each of the projects you're working on, instead of you just being like a one person show. Nowhere close to quitting. Good, 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 good. Um, you'll start to know when you're getting tired. But if you haven't done something like what you're doing now, working with me, or getting with a mentor, if you haven't done those things, don't give up yet, because you probably haven't given it all you got. Yeah, finding partners is really difficult. My One of my greatest hopes for this group is that we could start to weed out the real from the fake, or maybe not even real from fake, but maybe some people just aren't ready. We can try to weed out who's ready to rock and roll right now, and who's not really ready. Those people that aren't really ready, those are not going to be the people that you see tuning in every night, or at least making their best effort. They might not tune in, but they might be texting me privately, or messaging me saying, "Hey, I wasn't in the chat, but I was, doing this, but I did end up catching up on this video. And by the way," they'll ask a question that lets me know, "Oh, they actually watched it. They actually watched that video." And I'm like, okay, good, good. So when I see that people are serious, and other people in the group see the same people coming back, now you're starting to know people by name, or at least the name they have on Facebook. Now you're starting to know people by name, and you start getting ideas. Hey, maybe I should hit that person up and see, what they're working on, and see if they want to work on something together. But see, most people don't want to waste their time with anyone who they don't think is really serious. And I know I'm looking for collaborators. I don't really necessarily say partners, but I'm looking for people to collaborate with, because I have so many ideas. I have resources, and but I don't have. I'm only one person, and I can't execute every single idea that I have. I do the best that I can, but it gets tiring after a while. And so I always joke with people, my friends and family, and I say I want to do like a Shark Tank for the hood. Like I want to have a platform where people people who look like me, people in my community, um, they actually can come to me with a business idea and pitch it to me. and I'll try to examine if that person seems like they have a good idea or they're on to something, but they just need a boost. They just need either um, some of the money that I might have, or they might need some of the expertise I might have. And so, really trying to find people to collaborate with so that Shark Tank, I say Shark Tank for the hood just because, I mean, I'm not like the sharks on Shark Tank. I'm not at that level, but I would love to get there. But as far as, like in my relative to certain people in my community, I could be like a stepping stone. I could be looked at like, I don't really want to call myself a shark because I just think it has a negative connotation. But I do think that I could serve that purpose in our community if people are serious. I want people to know I am actively looking for collaborators. I have multiple projects going on right now. And just not enough manpower. And it's not even always about finding people who are coming with their money, because oftentimes I'm not even looking for money from people. I'm looking for people who have a brain and who have the stamina to basically collaborate and execute some of the ideas and strategies that I have. And it's just a shortage of people. Let's see. Hey, Cherie. How are you, pretty lady? Okay, you say you haven't been promoting your business yet. You have a problem where if you don't know all the information a customer can ask, I won't push forward. So you feel like you have to have all the answers. Fake it till you make it. I mean, don't just be clueless out here. You know, educate yourself, become treat it like you're trying to become an expert in your industry. So research things, look up things. Like if you're doing landscaping and you wanna figure out, all right, I want to get some high end clients. Let me drive out Potomac. Let me ride through these neighborhoods and let me see the type of landscaping they have and see like what they like, see what type of things are being planted in different seasons. So I want to make sure that if I plant this shrub in the fall, it won't die because, or I don't want to plant it, the roots too deep because it won't thrive. You would need to have either spent time with someone like as an apprentice to learn those things, or you would have to read up on those things. And you want to be knowledgeable so that you can answer questions, and so that when you're presenting yourself to a potential customer, you don't even have to let them ask certain questions. You just become like a wealth of information, and when they see that you have knowledge and you sound like you know your stuff, that makes people feel more comfortable, especially if what you're saying is correct. I think like when I would do tours for childcare, when I was actively involved in the childcare center, or when I would work with people with assisted living, my spiel would be jam packed with facts. And I would anticipate the kind of things that customers ask. I would say things like, oh, you said your mother you said she has dementia. Oh, I'm sorry. Is she in the early stages? Has she gotten to a point where she can't, remember you? Is she wandering? Is she combative? Is she taking Aricept or Namenda? And you ask these questions. It's the way that you present yourself where it's like, oh, okay, yeah. Oh, you know about that. They feel like you have a good understanding, and it makes them, feel really comfortable, like you're competent, basically. But I would say don't postpone getting customers because you feel like you don't have all the answers. You can't fake it till you make it. You get out there and don't try to get over on anyone, but you can definitely. One thing that people appreciate when you ask them a question and you don't know, you can say, you know what? I tell you what, I don't know the answer to that right now, but I'll have that answer for you tomorrow. I'll have that answer for you by the end of today. And people respect the honesty, but they also see that you're going to follow up because you're interested in getting that information. So those are the kind of things that you want to do. If you feel like you start with, like, you might have a target market that you want. Like, let's say your ultimate goal is you want to be doing landscaping for the White House eventually. Well, you don't want to go up to a representative that can put you on with the White House and you know that you're a rookie or you don't really know your stuff. So you may want to like start around the way, or I'm not saying that you don't treat people who pay less as well as you treat people who pay more, but let's just face it, you kind of do. Not from a respect and dignity standpoint, but the more you pay, the higher quality the service usually. So your customer service can still be good, but when people are not paying top-notch prices, then technically they really shouldn't be expecting top-notch services. So you can get your feet wet on a market that really isn't your ultimate target market, basically. You can like practice and get your experience with another market that doesn't blow it for you. Because if you go to someone, in, I like to use Potomac, but let's just say you go to someone in Tyson's Corner and you mess up or you don't present yourself properly to that person. Now that person who knows their neighbors and who talks to other people, they're going to say, "Oh, don't use that person. Yeah, they came over here and they planted some stuff and that stuff was dead within the next week. He didn't know what he was doing." Or something like that. Or they say, he was very unprofessional. He was supposed to be here at 2:00. He didn't get here until like 2:35, and he was popping gum or, spitting when he talked, or, just, those kind of things. You don't want to get the potential top-notch customer and not come correct. Hey, Team Bass, I've seen you in here before. So we're down to 2 viewers right now. Been going for just about a little over an hour. I'm more than happy to answer more questions if they come. And if not, we can call it a night. I'll let you good people go. Marketing. Marketing is definitely one of those things we need to go over. No questions tonight? Okay, we talked about part 1 of business plan development, so you can catch it. I don't even know that you really would need this component because you are really good with the whole business plans. Are similar to like when you're writing for grants and stuff. So I think you probably are good here in this area, LeSean. But marketing, we're going to talk about marketing too. Marketing yourself and methods for marketing. I'm not a marketing pro, but I'll tell you what I think I know. Okay, so we're just down to 1 person now. Well, back up to 2. I usually wait to see a good night or something from one of my regulars. That way I know they're done. Oh, good, good. Events. You're on a webinar about events and business branding. I'll be honest, branding, that's something that I need to study up on. Like marketing for certain industries and certain things that are just kind of obvious. Those are the things that I feel I can speak on. But I would be very interested in learning, like, how do you build a brand? I mean, I know some of the principles of building a brand, but like, how do you go about establishing like a brand for something tangible? Not like, perhaps I'm building a brand. Maybe I am a brand. If I'm presenting myself each evening, am I trying to sell myself? Am I a brand? But then you have like, okay, I want to make a brand for like a toy or a show or something like that. It would be good to know, like, how do you make it pop? How do you get people to recognize you are somebody and they like who you are? They like what you are. They like your product. Then you end up, becoming. Then you have people that want to actually license. They want licensing. You have licensing rights, and they buy them. They buy the ability to use your brand to sell their products. Yeah. Yeah. Repetition, reputation. hmm Consistency. People begin to know what they're going to get from you if that's what you're selling. If you're consistent, when people know what they can expect from something and that's what they want, they're going to go back for that source of supply. If you know that Charity says she's going to tune in every night at 9 o'clock and she's going to give us some information, and that's what I do, then you might continue tuning in and you might actually appreciate what she stands for. You know, so I think building a brand is something that you do almost unconsciously, but if you're not careful, you can kill your brand with doing things that are politically incorrect, being insensitive, um, just not really having anything of substance to offer your target market. I mean, even the fact that I'll be honest, I might be home all day, right? I may not have gotten up and gone anywhere all day. I could be in my pajamas. But if I know I'm getting ready to go live at 9 o'clock, I get started at least an hour early and I make sure that I, put a little something on my face, that I actually get dressed and make myself presentable for the audience. I mean, some of you all may have seen me in my live streams when I'm like working hands on, and you may feel like you don't even recognize me based on, like, compared to how I may have looked in those videos when I was working hard, like, from a year ago when I was doing the B&B. But I wasn't I wasn't really trying to sell myself. I really was just trying to let people see what the process was for that. Now with this, I'm coming from a different angle. So I want to present myself a certain way. I need people to understand that there is some glory in being self-employed. It's not all just like hell and misery. Some people can make it look sexy after a while, and that's what people want to see. They want to see that you're in business, you've been successful, and that you look healthy, happy, and you know, it's things they would actually want themselves. I can't sell it to you if I don't have it for myself. What'd you miss? You missed the videos from when I was setting up the B&B, or when I've been like doing construction and laying floors and building walls, and I'll have sweatpants on and paint on my face, not like lipstick paint, but like wall paint on my face and my hair. I have videos of me using power tools, cutting up studs. But for this purpose, I feel I should present a more professional look, a more polished look. Yeah, they should be on my timeline. Or you can go, I don't know how Facebook works. I think when you go live, I'm not sure if those videos eventually disappear, but I think they're still there, basically. And really, I have them going back years because anytime I would like go to one of the properties and do upgrades, renovate, or do some type of transformation, um, I would do that. Like one time at the daycare center, I went live and took pictures every day, and I called it a transformation. I showed people how I went from the daycare looking bad to making it look nice, basically. And I showed them the process each day. And it was me and my family working there, other people working, shopping for the stuff, cleaning it up, organizing. So I'll show the videos like that, and nobody was interested in that. I don't know that I got any likes. The times that I would get likes is when I would show the finished product, but the process leading up to the outcome, people weren't necessarily liking that because it wasn't sexy. It wasn't. It looked painful. There were times I think one time we were out, it was like freezing cold outside, and I'm like loading 3 carts full of stuff of home decor items with my friend into her vehicle, and we're like, it's so cold I couldn't feel my hands. I couldn't even stop the video because my finger was too cold. So those kind of things, I think, do not inspire people to want to go into business for themselves because it doesn't look glorious. So now I feel like I need to come and let you all know the other side of it. That there are fruits of the labor. To the victor goes the spoils. Hi, Hannah. All right. Well, I feel like at this point, I'm kind of just seeming like I like to hear myself talk. So if nobody has any more specific questions, I haven't seen Barbara tonight. I didn't see her last night either. Might have to check in with her. All right. Derek called it. Derek's the man. When he says goodnight, I know it's over. He's the first man in and the last man standing. All right. Well, thanks for tuning in, everybody. I will be back tomorrow with part 2 of how to build a business plan. And it'll be day 5 of the 30-day Boss Up Challenge. Thank you for tuning in. Don't forget to like the video, share, subscribe to the YouTube channel, all that good stuff. Boss up.